Small Group now has official swag. Grab your small group coffee mug before the next small group at our website, smallgrouppodcast.wordpress.com. Click the shop link. Thank you for your support and being part of the small group.
Donuts make me go nuts. This is Small Group Podcast. I'm Benjamin Maxwell.
I'm Lacey.
And we are blessed to be joined again by Kyle Wright, the godfather of Small Group Podcast. Fortunately, he is being supervised tonight by his lovely wife, Rachel Wright. Good to have you two.
It's good to be here. We're excited.
Don't lie.
Yeah, we're kind of scared. It's fine.
And all three of our kids are in the background. So if you hear the crazy, that's what it is.
Apologies in advance. They heard a little Ezra last week. A little Ezra and Gabby action. It was a party. And then the one that can control himself, which is Carson, our oldest. He's going to hear right now. So chaotic, but we're happy to be here. Thank you for having me again, and thank you for having us. Excited to do something with you again.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We've been on your show, and I know we've plugged it before. We'll go ahead and plug it again. Leave it at the table.
Yeah.
Podcast.
You want to plug all 10 of them again? No. Yeah, leave it at the table. That's myself, Drew Gorman, Danielle Guillory. We're live every Thursday night on YouTube and Facebook. You can find us the next day, in most cases at least. You can find us the next morning, wherever you get your podcast. When people ask us what our podcast is about, we say nothing but everything. And I think that's my favorite thing about it, is that there is no purpose to it. It's three friends that get together, three friends from different walks of life, married, 2 kids, myself, Drew's married, no kids, Danielle's single woman. It's 3 perspectives, and it's a good show. We have fun doing it.
And you've talked about before, as far as with Rachel, as you know, I think you've said it like she's married a content creator, and this is part of it. Here you are thrusting her in again to another show.
Yeah.
So
Here I am.
we're definitely glad to have you and to hear from someone other than Kyle for the third
He
week
does
in a
have
row.
lots of words to say.
There's donuts on the table tonight, so you probably won't hear much.
Well, let's go ahead and get things started with
Jingle
the princess.
bells, jingle yay, jingle good for you.
Go ahead and kick us off here.
Alrighty, our icebreaker question is, which artist or band is a guilty pleasure for you? And I will preface this with, this is a judgment-free zone.
No, it's not. Well, it is here on the show, but once we leave, because Kyle and I, we see a lot of each other. Once we leave here, it
Wide
may
open.
not stay here. Yeah, it's
Fair.
not Vegas.
You want to go first?
No, because I'll probably take yours.
Okay. Taylor
Then I'll-
Swift. I'm a Swiftie. Yeah.
That I would have honestly never pegged that.
Yep.
Does it feel good to get that out?
It does. It does.
Out in the
It's
open.
very enlightening. No, I've actually never been one to hide it. Her music is good. I'm not a big fan of like the stuff she's dropped over the last like 3 or 4 years. But one thing I like about Taylor Swift, and I'm a big fan of women in general. I think we talked a little bit about this last week.
Why do we feel the need to stress that?
Strong women in general.
Da-da-da.
And Taylor Swift is the definition of a success story, because you've seen so many, and I don't, you've seen a lot of female artists, the Britney Spears, the Miley Cyruses of the world, the Madonnas, that have had the industry mess with them in some capacity, and they've just gone off the deep end. They've gone crazy, shaved their head, done wild
Leave
stuff.
Britney alone.
But Taylor Swift responded to that with Taylor's version. And
And
yeah, dude. And like,
admitting to being a Swiftie is one thing. You're really going in on
dude,
this.
I'm in it. Yeah.
You're
like-
veering
Dude,
into
and
it.
Real deal Swifty.
She is a
He doesn't
success
play
story.
about Tay-Tay.
She is a success story in every capacity. Respect it.
I was about to say, remind me never to bring up Taylor Swift, but I don't think I have to worry about that.
I guess otherwise, I'd go with Backstreet Boys. And the only reason that's controversial is because we live here on the beach. And he owns the beach. Brian Littrell. Shout out to him. If you're a listener, Brian, we love you. Come on the show.
By the way, I totally forgot I gave you a button. I worked really hard to make you a button, and I didn't even. So I'm going to just give you a second introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kyle Wright. Donut in his mouth and everything.
Right there, you can't see me.
He was done talking,
Audio
so he
only.
shoved it in there.
Ma'am.
So you said, Rachel, you said yours was the same.
So I like Taylor Swift, but he obviously takes the cake, and he is much more of a Swiftie than I am.
That's got to hurt.
No, he loves it. It's funny.
I did a butterfly tattoo under my eye when we went and saw her.
You went and saw her?
Yeah.
Just stop.
yeah, we did.
Man.
He
Just
sat
stop.
in that queue
Love
for
it.
hours to
I
get
did.
those tickets. He was
That's-
committed.
Can we
11
please
hours.
move on? I don't want to hear anymore. This is ruining my impression. of
11
Kyle.
hours in a pre-sale queue.
He went from Godfather, a small group, to distant cousin.
Never invited back.
I don't know if this would be considered guilty pleasure. My actual guilty pleasure would probably be different. But like Skillet is like all time. We've gone to like 7 or 8 concerts for them together just throughout
Planning
our
9.
relationship.
Planning 9.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna go in August, and yeah, they're just
I've come
everything
on
they
to
do
Skillet
has been
late
good. They're so
recently,
great.
and I never gave them enough. Aren't they the ones with the lady drummer?
Yeah.
Mhm.
She is
sings.
Incredible.
Oh yeah. There's been a couple things that have popped up on the algorithm that have hooked me.
And going to different concerts, it's like you're never boring because some artists will do the same thing every time,
Like
and
Taylor
they keep it.
I've only
Keep
seen
it
her
real.
once. That
Yeah.
was too expensive.
How many times have you seen Skillet?
This will be our 9th time.
Say it loud and proud. I need to hear more of that. How many
Yeah.
times have you seen Skillet?
Nah.
Way more times than Taylor Swift.
I'm working your way
Um,
back.
Otherwise, I got to go with Paramore. That's my other.
That's
like,
not good.
Interesting.
I know. I guess it's not.
I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Because
And some
anyway.
people are like, girl pop.
yeah,
But
I'm kind of with you.
I,
it depends
I
on
could
what-
rock Taylor Williams. She's awesome.
Yeah, it's
She's a powerhouse.
I'm gonna. So I did have Paramore. My guilty pleasures. I ended up. I don't know how it worked out like this, but it's like by decade. Pick a decade, and I'll give
Okay.
you my guilty. It just stacked up that way. Paramore, but like early Paramore isn't necessarily like what Kyle said. It's not guilty pleasure. I think the more recent, like post 2010,
Yeah.
is probably more. And even their more poppy stuff that's on the radio, I got tired of that. But there's some like deep tracks that
Yeah.
okay,
I really.
Haley Williams. Is that
Yeah.
she's impressive. But 90s Cranberries,
Okay.
Cranberries hit hard for me.
Someday,
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the 80s Heart, who our 3-year-old has been a big fan
Yes.
of.
Oh, I love that. for
I've grown
you.
a new appreciation for Heart.
Gabby loves heart.
Yeah, our Gabby's playlist will go from Bluey's Dance Mode to
Go Go's.
the Go-Go's to I'm trying to think of the Heart song that she loves. Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah, Alone by Heart. And, it's fine until she starts talking more fluently. Then we're going to have to really start paying attention to the lyrics. But
Yeah.
And then 80s. Is Bee Gees? No, 70s, sorry. Bee Gees have always been a guilty pleasure that transcend decades. But if I have to go the 70s, I go ABBA.
Oh.
Yeah, that one
That's a good one.
That one hurts to say out loud, but ABBA
And I
hits
got
hard.
scrutiny for Taylor Swift, and you're admitting to ABBA.
Come
Who's like
on.
the original weirdo
I
of
think
music, by the way.
everybody listening, I think would side with me that Taylor Swift is harder. It's a harder pill to swallow.
Maybe. What about Enya?
There's a little bit of
Little bit.
I wouldn't sit there and listen to Enya over and over, but I don't hate them. Her.
It's a non-small group podcast conversation, but Enya,
You turn on Waterloo, and I'm digging it. So, Lacey, Miss Princess Bubbles, what is your
Okay.
This is going to be interesting.
So, like, I love listening to Backstreet Boys and what?
I was just going to say, because all your guilty pleasures are her normal songs.
No, I'm actually not a Swiftie. When she I was when she was country, but as soon as You Belong With Me came out, y'all please don't hate me for what I'm saying. But like after that, I was like, okay, you're fine, but like you kind of lost me a little bit. I'm sorry.
Kyle, don't go. Come back,
I'm
Kyle.
sorry.
Kyle, please.
I'm sorry.
Don't
No,
leave.
but like I loved Love Story. Like, and I loved Tim McGraw, that first song that she, and like, yes. So
everything after
anyways.
Fearless, no go.
Anyways, but like I love to listen to 90s, early 2000s, Third Eye Blind, Nelly, but the guilty pleasure is Nickelback.
Yeah.
I
will never
love
get the Nickelback hate.
Like, and
So unwarranted.
I mean, and like I'll still listen to like the Hannah Montana, like
Mhm.
Jonas Brothers. Don't judge me too harsh for
I
this,
went to
y'all,
a
but
Jonas
it's
Brothers
just-
concert
like,
what's it, a year
Really?
ago, 2 years ago,
I love
with his sister.
I love
It was
it.
so fun.
But like I love like all the nostalgia, but like
Mhm.
like Nickelback and Danielle Welch are the reasons why I made it through high school. So like
Gotta
just
keep them in your pocket.
oh yeah. So
okay.
I mean like Rockstar and Photograph, like just yeah.
The memes have ruined that. Look at this graph. They've ruined that song for me.
The disrespect that Nickelback has got,
It's so crazy.
unwarranted. And
Yes.
Creed too.
Well,
I'm
that's
glad
the
they're
thing.
getting
I
their
like
shine now.
Creed.
Nickelback is just a repackaged Creed, almost. Because I will go Creed. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, every time.
They get a hard time too.
Creed has a cruise next year with Breaking Benjamin, who is my all-time favorite band. They're going to be on a cruise together, and I'm
Babe,
On
can
a
we go on a
cruise?
cruise?
Summer of '99 cruise. I think Bush is there too. Living Color.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, let's start it. off.
Mom duty
Actually,
always takes over.
Creed it's a good segue. Let's segue into our main conversation tonight. I'm totally.
What is taking you higher?
Yeah, that's it. Are you six? Never mind. No. Kyle, last time you were on, we really dug into your personal story, especially, but also, I know you talked about, or we talked about, being a father and leader of the family as well. But, one thing that we did talk about primarily is your guys' search for a church. And we kind of want to back up. I don't want this to be completely just a interview. Hey, tell us, all about, we've all heard about Kyle. Tell us about you, Rachel. I don't want it to turn into that, but there is going to be some questions where I think we'll have to start from a personal standpoint and dig deeper into some topics. But as far as, looking for a church, I can't remember if we talked about this or not, but what started you guys on that desire to want to find a church? Has it always been there, and you just or did something happen where it just became real, or?
Yeah, I think it was kind of always there. We were just so busy, and now we have 2 kids, and life just was happening a lot. But I really think that we were being spiritually attacked. There was spiritual warfare happening in our lives that was just one thing after another, back to back to back, bad things that just, now looking back, all of them are somehow connected. If one thing didn't happen, we wouldn't have been set up for the next thing that happened to be able to manage and live still. But just, I feel like there was so much spiritual warfare happening, and I don't know. And now I think that was God being like, listen, this is how I'm going to get you back to me. I know you've known me, but like, it's time to really come back.
Get
It's been long
serious.
enough. You got
Yeah.
kids now. Let's go. Come
Yeah.
on.
And you don't have to, I mean, I'm not asking for all of it, or even, you can just tell me no if you want.
Open book.
Can you give me kind of an example of that spiritual warfare?
Start on the specifics. Start from January of 2023 through
And
Or
you don't have to relive it all. I can tell it's
No.
probably going to be.
That's fine.
December
I mean,
of 23.
So I think it's all Kyle's fault, to be honest.
Hmm.
God was after Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of this is because of you.
No.
Just kidding.
Because you started. Okay. December of 2023 through September of 2024. Sorry. And I'm the podcaster, the
Mhm.
godfather,
He's
if you
not
will.
talking into the
The
mic.
pod
Distant
father.
cousin now. No, you blew it. You're distant cousin
Nope.
father.
No, dude, I'm the pod father. Oh, my gosh.
I smell a new show.
Oh, spinoff. So, December of 2023, my grandfather passed away. He was the person I was closest to in my life, other than my dad. So it was very hard to swallow. We go into January, and we're kind of fighting through the whole. He's only been dead for a little while. His funeral was just a couple days before Christmas. He had left me his truck in the will. It's a nice, beautiful GMC Sierra, and I was kind of hooked at the time on the idea that like I don't really want it, and plus there was some drama with my mom, not necessarily wanting me to have it either at the time. Shout out to you, Mom. I love you. I hope you don't listen to this. God, I love her to death. We are so grateful for her, actually. Just in case she does, circle back. No, so I was kind of hooked on the idea. Like I didn't really want it because it was it was me accepting that he was gone. But then I had to start to get to the idea that he did want me to have it, because one day Rachel goes to Walmart while we were living in Mariana, and I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so we were living in Mariana, and I don't remember why I was going to Walmart. It doesn't matter. But you
Just
guys
needed
were
groceries, yeah.
you guys were at his house cleaning it out.
No,
What are you talking about?
I was talking about you, because yours started
sorry.
me getting the truck. Yeah,
Yeah.
so your fault. My grandfather just died.
Yeah, so we were living in Mariana one morning. I think it was probably a Sunday morning. I went to the store to go get like cinnamon rolls or something for breakfast, and coming back, and thankfully I just went by myself because the boys were still either sleeping or it wasn't worth getting them ready to go. But I'm coming down our road, and somebody backs out of their driveway into the side of my vehicle, and like on our street, he backs out. And
At like 30 miles an hour, by the way.
the way he hit me, he said he looked both ways, but he didn't see me. And the way that he hit me, it dented in the door frame just enough that when he pulled away, it popped the door back out and shattered the window. So it totaled the car, and there was like frame damage to the car.
Wow.
So, and thankfully, it was on the side that Ezra's seat is on, and his seat was full of glass. And if I had taken him, oh my gosh, it would have been so much worse. But
Oh.
so my car was put under the
Under the carport.
carport
It
and
took
sat there
his
because
insurance
it took
company
forever.
3
Yeah.
weeks to get out and look at it.
Yeah. 'Cause it
Gas.
took forever to get it into the shop. And then, so we were like, okay, well, I guess we have to get that truck now. And then,
Yeah, this is
Driving
kind of where
around.
the crazy stuff starts to happen. So we finally have to say, okay, well, we need another vehicle now. We have one, thank God. So if Grandpa doesn't die, we have one vehicle commuting from Mariana to Panama City every day, right? So there's like the first weird blessing that happened.
we have another vehicle.
So get the truck legalized, get that figured out. And I think I got it legalized on January 9th. And then on January 19th, we were there at my grandfather's house cleaning it out after he passed, just getting everything out of it. You know, he had some termite infestation, so like we had to throw away pretty much everything that was in his home. And it
Oh,
was,
wow.
but in a way, it was kind of cleansing
It
at the
was
same time.
better that way.
It was better that way. So we were there cleaning out his house and throwing his stuff away, and Rachel and the kids stopped by, and Carson was asleep in the back seat, and there's relevance to that as well. So I just sent them home, back up to Mariana, and I got in the truck about an hour. No, not shortly after, about 30 minutes after.
Yeah.
About 30 to 45 minutes after, and I started heading home, driving north up 231, and all of a sudden, headlights coming at me, and 60 on 60 hit. I got a drunk driver had hopped lanes and hit me head on 231. And my usual vehicle was the Kia Optima. If I was in that, then we're
Not large car.
probably not recording this tonight.
Yeah.
Lucky to be recording this anyway. Walked out. The most I walked out of that with was a concussion and some depression, but it's all right. Totaled my grandpa's truck, so obviously that was a big thing we went through. But again, had I not been in the
God
truck,
moment.
indirect blessing. I know, Andy. Got a dog. Dog feels my pain. Had I not been in the truck, I was gone. And the most important thing of it was the truck was a big truck, but it was single cab. And so Carson loved to ride with me. Had Carson been awake when Rachel and the kids stopped, he would have been with me.
Wow. It's just those little things that intertwined like that were like,
I don't know if that's
whoa.
little. Yeah.
No.
You guys had a bunch of big things.
Little bit.
intertwined.
It ain't over.
No, but then, so we settled from that, and then we finally were like, we went after the guy, and of course he was a deadbeat drunk, and this was his 4th DUI, and
So I still have to work.
so, and they were like, he's going to go to jail, so there's no, just settle for this amount, and blah, 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 and he didn't end up going to jail, which is the
Slap on
craziest
the
part.
wrist.
And what did he blow? He blew
He blew 3 hours after the fact because he refused to blow on the scene. He blew a 0.237, so over triple the limit.
it was insane
3 hours later.
how high it was. So we're settled from that. We did go to a lawyer, and they were like, he's not worth it. Essentially, you're not going to get much out of him. He doesn't have anything.
And I do
I'm
want to
like,
point
okay.
out that I knew the lawyer, so it wasn't like
Yeah,
he was like,
he wasn't
small
trying to
case,
just
get you out of
blow us
here.
off.
Like,
Right.
So he was
He would have helped us
Yeah.
more if he could have.
kids being kids in the background. It's okay. It's not ours, buddy. You have fun. Stop jumping on their couch.
Don't encourage Gabby.
She's probably the one encouraging. Well, so you guys have all these things coming together, or you feel like you're under assault, basically.
Yeah.
And you felt that in the I feel like when things like that start to add up, you can either just, there's multiple ways of looking at it. One, ignoring any kind of spiritual tie or anything like that, or two, blaming God, or three, which I think is more where you guys are falling under, is looking to God. This is leading you guys to want maybe a stronger connection with God, or seek a stronger relationship.
There was, on my side,
It was so mixed.
much more blame.
It was tough.
Much
There-
more blame at the
Okay.
beginning
Yeah.
because
In the
I-
middle
I-
of it, it was hard to not be like, why is all of this happening? What is going on?
I don't want to hijack
Why are
your
you
show,
doing this?
but I told the September story between the restaurant and the knee,
Yeah,
on
that
last
was
week's
the
episode. So
same
from
year.
your perspective, you should tell that part because it was the same year, months later.
Months later. So we had gotten that settlement, and then it came in. We paid rent ahead of time a little bit, like a few months in advance, because we had some. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but it was enough to pay rent a few months in advance. So we did that, and we paid off some bills and all that stuff. And then we wake up one Thursday morning. I think it was a Thursday, and he's looking on his phone and just freaking out. He's like, "What is happening?" And he sees on Facebook that the restaurant that he's working at is on fire and gone, essentially. So we were like, "Oh no, what do we do?" And then he's calling everybody, and it was just a sheer panic moment because you just wake up and everything's up in the air.
Yeah.
Your job that you've worked at for years is gone, and we don't have a backup plan, and I don't what's going to happen. How bad is it? Is it just completely done, or is it workable? Can you go tomorrow? So it was
was not.
confusing. And then
And you're still in this blaming.
yeah, so we're
stage,
still
right?
upset about all of his losing his grandpa's truck. There's depression from that, and then you add that on top of that.
And Kyle, real quick, Kyle said that he was in a more of a spiritually in a blaming stage. What were you at in this? Were you maybe just shell shocked?
The bad
I
stuff
think
started
I
a week
was
later.
Yeah, I think I was just in shock of wow, that all happened. That's crazy. I don't like just confusion more of anything. Like, why is this happening? Because like feel like I was hopeful for something good to come out of it, and I try to find good in situations like that just to keep positivity. And then so we're trying to figure out, and Kyle's applying to all these things, and then he goes to a
70
softball game.
70 applications, resumes. Yeah.
And he goes to play a softball game to relax and have fun. And I get a phone call from one of our really good friends, and she said, Kyle's knee is out of place and they're calling an ambulance. I said, excuse you? You said what to me right now? And I just was in utter disbelief, because I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This is not happening right now. I was pissed. I was really, really, really mad at Kyle. I think that's when all the anger and the just everything hit me when that happened. And I was so mad.
Not even a cool story.
I remember telling him in the hospital, I looked at him. Do you remember me saying this to you?
No, I don't know. I was on a lot of
You probably were.
painkillers.
I looked at you and I said, I don't know what your relationship is with God right now or what you have going on, but I need you to fix it and get it together. I told you that in the hospital because I was so mad at you. And it was just
laying there, my knee is the size of a basketball, and my wife's eviscerating me in the hospital.
Like,
I'm like, oh, this is fantastic.
With good reason, by the way.
I don't know what your
Championship
relationship is right now, but like I need you to like figure it out because something's happening. And I was like, at that point, I was like, we're being attacked. Something is happening. I don't know if I need to get blessed. Are we cursed? What's happening? Like,
Yeah.
It was all just so much and very, very confusing. And
Wow.
it was a lot.
No, that is a lot.
But, looking at back, like if we hadn't had that car wreck and got that settlement, we wouldn't have paid rent for like ahead.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have had that little bit put back that
Yeah.
we had to pay all the bills when we
We
were
wouldn't
down
have
to
gotten
one
through that.
income. And he literally couldn't get out of bed. I had to help him shower. That's how bad his knee was. It wasn't just like a pop out, pop back in. Like there was tearing and it was bad. I mean, awful.
Like my kneecap did a little 90-degree angle.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was quite
it was
rough.
not great. But
Well,
Can't wait for church softball
I
night.
feel like things have gotten better since then, so that's cool.
well, yeah. I mean, like you've already started to talk about, one thing leads to another. Yes, there feels like this spiral,
Yeah.
but now you finally have made it to a place where one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, and now here we are sitting at
And
the same
honestly,
table,
all
going to
of
church
that
together.
has led him to, he worked at that golf shop,
Mhm.
and then that was just terrible in the long run. I mean,
He's not a Christian. He'll never hear this.
but it led him to finding the job at Noble through Tyler, and then that's where he's met you.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are, and we've found a church that has been
Well, and
game changing.
and two, and we kind of already talked about the whole story of your introduction into the congregation that we worship with, and it was almost like maybe the Holy Spirit working in spite of me, because I was just complaining about, oh, it's gonna be a long day. I've been up since 4 at
Gotta
a
go to
men's Bible study,
church,
and
yeah.
then he's like, "Where do you go to church?" And kind of
Because we were shopping at that point.
yeah, and I like to joke around like
Yeah.
he invited himself, kind of thing. But it's
He does that.
but still, it's the Holy Spirit is working and is because at that point, I got the impression from you of someone seeking, searching,
Mhm.
and I only knew Kyle at this point, and like what you're talking about, you guys were kind of shopping around for a church, and so you've come out of this blaming God phase. One, how do you? Because you hear a lot of people, mainly, will you can see videos and whatever will pop up of people blaming God and discrediting God. You've come from that place to a eagerly searching place by the time you and I met. And so how does that happen? How do you dig your way out of with such animosity, maybe, and anger?
Yeah, so the perspective of realizing that one tragedy led to a blessing didn't come until well after the fact. So for me, in the time, I had all but denounced God.
Yeah. He was
Which
like, I'll
is-
never set foot in a church again.
I
I'll
was-
never.
Even at that moment when you and I had that conversation that morning?
No. It was I'm talking about when I was injured, because basically it was I was in a moment of like helplessness. Like my wife's she's gone all day. She's taking the kids to school. She's picking them up. She's cooking dinner, and I can't even shower. And it as a man, how does that make you feel, right? Like you feel like you're not doing enough. You're not, well, because you're not, and it's so at the time I'm just looking to heaven, and I'm like, well, dude, why did you do this to me? Like like almost like a breakup, like looking up, like, dude, you and I are done. You and I are done, and I'm the only reason I'm not afraid to admit that is because of where I am now. Because those blessings weren't obvious at the time. Like it wasn't like we're like, oh, thank God we have a savings account, or this wouldn't be happening. But thank who, right? Like that, like thank God has just become a thing that we throw out for every little situation. But the truth of the matter is, looking back on it now, especially, like, man, he was working. Like those things were going to happen. Like,
every
he knew
step
it.
of the way, everything happened.
Yeah.
That worked out. It's crazy.
But you can still, I feel like maybe like the fact that you guys have come to a place where you recognize that everything was working for a reason, and because I feel like maybe some people may go, down that hole of blaming, never recognizing the benefit of it.
Yeah.
Maybe just looking at it, okay, I finally turned it around instead of God leading you or, delivering you.
Through it all, we had a lot of people, commend us on how because we didn't grovel and all that stuff through it. It is what it is, was the mentality for most of it, especially when we were like around people.
As soon as I could get in a vehicle again, I was working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But people being like, you guys are handling this well. How are you doing that? Like, anybody else would come
Meanwhile,
along
inside,
this,
you're just like I am dead
yeah.
inside.
And I think the real thing was, so I was ready to start to go back to church once that had, once his need happened. I was like, listen, we're being attacked. I got to go. I got to get back into church. Something's telling me. Like, that was like my biggest calling, I think. Like, when all that was happening, I was like, wait, like, I got to get back into a church. I got to find one. And I think we were having some behavioral issues with Carson too.
Yeah.
And that was pretty big. And we were like, okay, he needs to get some sort of foundation too, because they had never been in church either. And I was feeling guilt from that
Both
on
your
top of
boys,
everything too with the kids. And I mean, his behavioral issues were getting pretty serious. So we were like, okay, he needs to like,
This is your oldest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And he has ADHD, and, the behavioral and impulse issues go along with it hand in hand. So it's to be expected, but he just needed to find a foundation, and we needed to get him somewhere that somebody besides us can tell us, like, hey, these things are wrong, and Jesus doesn't like that.
Yeah. Real quick, because the way you're talking too, and you've already mentioned it, get back into church. We've heard a little bit of Kyle's backstory. Well,
yeah.
You grew up in church.
I did. I grew up in a Baptist church, actually here locally on the beach. For the most part, we did, like, when we lived in Virginia, I went to Presbyterian or Methodist, something, I don't know, something not Baptist, but I identify as Baptist, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's the way to put it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily seeking like denomination, but just you have some background.
But I went through it, and I feel like I was heavily involved in the youth group, especially. I mean, even through high school, and so I dated a boy in the youth group, so that kept me in it too, and and I feel like just going through, I did the church, the youth band, and I sang in the choir and stuff, and we had like the normal stuff. So I was, and there was a drama club, so I was in it.
Yeah.
Like, and then once graduated high school, and that relationship ended, and it was just, life started moving, started going to college, and then I just kind of faded out into the world, I guess, and.
Right.
I just never, I didn't want to go back to that church, and I didn't know any other churches really, and I was just busy, and I couldn't, I don't know, I just never brought myself to find a new one.
And I know we can kind of like talk in terms of like going to church as one thing, but and we can also see as a relationship with God as almost a different thing when in our vernacular and how we speak. Did you have a relationship with God in those years growing up?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now going through all this, you and Kyle both going through all this, and now, so you've already experienced a relationship with God. You're starting to feel that pull
Yeah.
back to God.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was definitely heavy there. It's just like smacking me in the face almost. It's like, you need to get back into church now.
And you talked
okay.
about, you guys, you grew up in a church here.
Mhm.
You guys don't live far, from the beach where you're describing. So, I mean, you, like Lacey and I, we come in from Alabama, and so we're fresh and brand new, looking everywhere and anywhere. But you already have some connections. But what made you want to? I guess maybe the question is, what were you looking for at this point? What are you looking for in a church? What was the appeal?
I didn't really know, because I was kind of, at that point, I was just needed something, anything, anybody that was going to welcome us in, and I could feel like I could breathe in there. And like, if you could feel, I don't know, you can kind of feel the spirit when you walk into a church, and the vibes have to be right. I guess is the best way to work it. Like, you got to feel the vibes.
You just got to feel it. There's nothing really particular, like a checklist that you're looking at.
And I did, you want something. I didn't want something small, like where there's like 2 people in there and they're just like, oh, new people, which we did. We went there, and it was a lot. But then also, like, the
church.
big mega churches are like
Too much.
icky, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted like medium size, just enough where you can know people. I can talk to people. They're going to know who I am, but I don't like have to talk to you if I don't need to. So
I feel like you and I connect on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I want to just slip out and no one will notice, that'd be cool. Sometimes.
You just don't feel like talking.
Yeah. There were some checklist things, but
It's funny y'all bring up.
mostly the vibes.
It's funny y'all bring up the small church thing. There's one story when I lived in Livingston, Alabama, West Alabama. I was working at the University of West Alabama, and I was looking for a church there, and I'm going around. Yeah, I'm going around, trying out all these different churches, and there's one. I mean, Livingston, Alabama is rural Alabama. I mean, there's nothing out there, and I found. I think I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's like Pine something, some community south of Livingston. It was about 30, 45 minutes. I don't know. I don't remember how I found this church, but it's this country church in the middle of nowhere, small church like you guys are talking about. And I walk in, this sweet lady comes up to me and just latches on. You're sitting with me and all this, and
welcome,
just
welcome. They're always so sweet, but it's it's
well,
overwhelming.
long story short, first off, she did like apologize because I was the youngest one in there. She's like, "I'm so sorry, we don't have any younger women here for you." I'm like, "That's okay." Like,
That's not what I'm here for.
but I ended up. She invited me to lunch at her house. I follow her to her house, and she had a couple other people that were coming from the church to join
That's
us.
good. It wasn't just you.
Yeah, it was just me at first because we get to her house. And she's like, I've got to run to the grocery store and get something real quick. You just what? She let me in the house. I'm sitting here in her house. She leaves to go to the grocery store. I mean,
You're
heart of
braver than I
gold.
am.
Yeah, heart of gold lady. Just, and I ended up having a great lunch, great conversation with them. But it's just like, that is I feel like I've experienced something that is a dying culture or dying concept of just entertaining, for a lack of a better word, hospitality. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and one thing that I do love about our church, it's Palo Alto Church of Christ on 231 for anybody that's interested or curious.
All the Venezuelan listeners, if you're ever in the country.
Vietnam.
That's it. Sorry.
But one thing that I do love about our church is we love people. And the first time that we walked into Palo Alto, before we had even spoken to anybody, I looked at Ben and I said, something's different. Something's different about this. And just, I didn't mean to go into all this, but I will. So we met Mr. Bob Sullivan. He was the first person that we met, Mr. Bubblegum Bob. He would sit out with the bubblegum and pass out bubblegum to everybody. And he introduced us to Mr. Kenny Payne, who was the preacher at the time. And Kenny Payne walks up to me and he says, "You're Alan Phillips' girl." I say, "Yes, sir." And he and my dad are friends. And then we get to talking, and Mr. Kenny actually, like, he taught us chapel, like, when we were growing up. So, like, I had, like, memories that I didn't know that it was him kind of thing. So that was really great. But I, like, immediately, it was just Miss Kathy Harrison and Miss Betty Bain. Just everybody just immediately just embraced us. And that is one thing that I do love about our church. And what was really funny was the first Sunday that y'all came to visit, I didn't know that y'all were coming. And I'd never even met you at this point. But I walked into the building and our preacher Matthew comes up to me and he says, "Hey, there's this really great couple. I just met them. Can you come talk to them?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And it was y'all. And I was like,
It's Kevin.
So,
Kevin and Rachel.
Kevin, yeah. So it was so funny because I was like, "Oh, it's Kyle." So I just really love that like I was so excited when y'all started coming, and we have just fallen in love with y'all and your boys. Your boys are so sweet.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've heard some of Kyle's story too on this, and Rachel, I don't know what your experience is on this, but as far as some negatives, some things that we say church hurt has become a big kind of concept. Church hurt. And you don't have to be specific. I'm just looking for in general, like what are some ways and things that if you've experienced it, and Kyle, if you want to tell me like what in what ways and how have you experienced any kind of like that quote unquote church hurt or church burn? Some negative qualities of church that you've experienced.
I don't know that I never necessarily have any like negative connotations towards churches. I think like some of the ones that we tried out, there were just some like icky things. They were ones
just not for you.
Yeah.
Right. They're not, but nothing like you felt negative
for somebody. No, not necessarily. I mean, obviously like the money thing is kind of a big thing where it's like, you're not giving us this much, then that stuff. And the ones that do memberships and stuff, it's kind of weird. I don't know. They just kind of give you the heebie-jeebies, a little icky, but not necessarily anything specifically from like anybody or anything. I feel like I had like the church that I grew up in was pretty good. I liked it quite a bit. I think there's been some things that have come out later that I was like, oh, I didn't know about that. But I was a kid and, teenager, and I was focused on what we were doing. I was worried about what the adults were doing. So, and I think,
that's probably for the best.
Definitely. We went through a few different youth pastors, and there was some like weird stuff like with that. But I don't know that I found out all the details on like if there was anything shady there. But
I'm with you. I feel like there's some stuff that I was shielded from too growing up.
Yeah,
that I don't know all the details.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you could remind us, Kyle, some of the stuff like qualities or just in general terms, some of the negative experiences that you've had.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in on the Small Group Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. We would love for you also to send our podcast to a friend. Our goal is to grow and learn as individuals, also to be a help and encouragement to others in journeys of faith and in matters of faith as we talk with one another and learn from you. So please let us know how we can serve better. And again, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Well, I grew up in a church that was very judgmental, and more so just made you feel like it really, oh man, gosh, and the off chance my mom listens to this, I'm going to have like some serious explaining to do, but I've done this before. But the church I grew up in, my mom and my stepdad were paying members, and the pastor would not let them get married at the church, or he would not marry them because it was their second wedding. And that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with here. It was really just a lot of that. There were people there that had lifelong role models Larry Granger. He's an officer here locally. Fantastic gentleman. So I did. Someone's screaming back there. We're good. Rachel's checking us. I guess the qualities that I was looking for in a church, and I did have a checklist. Nothing too big, nothing too small. I wanted to feel welcome, but I didn't want to feel like a spectacle. If like, and it kind of goes to the big and too small thing, right? Like when you go to a church that's too big, nobody's gonna nobody notices the new people, except for the people that we knew that invited us. But other than that, nobody noticed we were new. And then we go to the church
Didn't
too small,
really greet us or anything. It was kind of crazy.
and like the whole congregation turns and looks
You're
and
on the
notices there's a
spot.
new person.
Yeah.
And the people that invited us to that church, the sweetest people to the small church, and it was a great church. Nothing wrong with the church itself. It just didn't check our boxes, or my boxes rather. I don't.
Yeah.
I wanted. To me, church is about one thing and one thing only. Like everything else that happens is bonus. The relationship you can create with people, and all the fun stuff that connecting through podcasting, like we've done. And obviously we work together, but I'd like to believe even if we didn't, we still would have found a way to do this. You would have found a way to get to me somehow. That stuff's bonus, but the one goal of church is to preach the word of God and the life of Christ and pull people closer to that, get people to understand that, and build people's relationship with God through knowing and understanding. And that's always been my thing. Like we don't need alternate goals. One of the churches that we were trying out did a whole 30-minute thing at the beginning where they played a video by Casey DeSantis talking about how medicinal marijuana should not be on the ballot and we should vote against it.
Telling you how to vote.
And I am a conservative male. Okay, like I am.
So what's your problem?
So I know like that, especially when we do talk religion, like I would say, most Christians do lean to the right. And so like, yes, I didn't necessarily agree with the overall thing, but like some of the stuff they were saying, yes, I feel the same way. However, why are we doing this here? That's not why we're here. We're not gathered today to talk politics. We're gathered today to talk about God. Like I'm here.
And that's
to
your
learn.
first impression too.
That's for me. That's our first. Was that our first or second?
I think it was
service?
the second time that we went. The first time he talked a lot about tithing and
So the second. So I had him switched.
Yeah.
So
Second one was
you're
when I
giving
checked out
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Yeah.
That's good too. I think.
Give everybody a second chance.
We might have went 3 times. I don't know. We went
Maybe.
a few different times because Carson liked the youth area, and it was a bigger church, so they had like a second story where the kids were, and they could come down the slide, and they had big playgrounds and stuff. So for the children, it was really nice. But
We don't take the kids the first time. We did take them the second time.
I remember that when the first time y'all visited with us, and it's like, where are the kids? And it was almost like a first date. Like, we don't introduce the kids on the first date.
It was a weird dynamic.
I like
with
that. I think that's good.
Because if we are going to walk into somewhere, and if we don't think it's okay, and we don't know what they have for the kids, if they're going to have to sit in with us, so we need to be like mentally prepared for if I'm going to have to chase my 3-year-old around. In the service. So.
Well, if they latch onto something and just get attached, and you can see like this isn't going to be a good place for us, then you have to go through that too. It is like dating.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you're just.
One thing that you led with this was judgmental, and I think this is a very important thing to really kind of dig into is. You believe in accountability, right? And how that plays a role with the church. So and especially with your experience and everything you guys have gone through. So what do you see as judgmental versus accountability? Like, how do you separate those two things?
So judgmentalism, I kind of just link everything into one weird little category where it's all the way down to like what you're wearing to church. Like I've showed up to our church with floral shirts, shorts, and flip-flops. Whereas the church I grew up in one time came to my dad and said, we prefer our men to wear suits here. that kind of thing. So all the way down to that.
Now, we don't wear suits, but we will judge you on some of those floral shirts. I'm just, maybe not out loud.
Some of them have been good, but some of them have been a miss, I'll be honest.
but like
not every floral shirt is equal.
But nobody's coming to me and saying like you can't wear that here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
or saying like you shouldn't wear that here.
Right.
Like
there's a priority to some of this stuff.
Yeah, we just want you there.
I'm almost testing it, actually, if I'm being 100% honest.
Whoa.
And waiting for somebody to say something.
Yeah.
But I feel like a church should be somewhere where if a homeless person who hasn't showered in 3 days or, however long, it's probably longer than 3 days if they're homeless, to be honest. But if they wanted to find a place to go to church and they just needed Jesus and they needed God to be able to make it through another day, if they were searching and hurting, and if they walked into that church, I feel like our church would have been welcoming just like anybody else. But I feel like a church should be like that. That should be a place. It's a place for sinners and the people that are down and needing to be brought back up.
Absolutely.
So on the flip side, what does accountability look like for you?
That's a tricky one because I think the accountability becomes mostly from within.
Yeah.
Sorry. Making sure that you're not only there to be there, like I call them paper Christians. Like obviously we do come, like a large reason we come to church. It's not the large reason, but a large reason we come to church is because we built these relationships and we are excited to see everybody. Mm-hmm. But we don't go to church because of that. And I think that that's where accountability comes in. You go to church because you know you need to. And I
just to see your friends.
Yeah, not just not to be a paper Christian, not to say like, not to keep up appearances,
right? Yeah,
like the football player that's there to get a paycheck, but he doesn't play. Like he shows up to the games in uniform, but he doesn't really doesn't play because he doesn't want to play. I don't know if that's probably a terrible analogy, but
no, I mean I think I get what you're saying, and I honestly I think you're right on with the relationships part. I think the relationship is. And we've talked about before as far as God, God is relationship, God is love. And if you have the Trinity, that is relational, that is relationship. And that's such a big part of it. And we've talked about in previous episodes, like, I struggle. It's either the Corinthian letters or Romans, I think, where Paul talks about, the church is, the one of the verses you hear a lot is not forsaking the assembly. In that same verse, he talks about what the church is, and it is to stir up good works and love with one another, like encourage one another and stir up love and good works. And that's relationship. That's part of, and I think that's really where accountability comes from. Just kind of go back to that, because I think there is a judge. The Bible talks about both judgmental and being accountable to one another. And, and I get where you're coming from with the judgmental part. And I think that a lot of that comes with prioritizing what is worth, drawing a line. And, where are those very important things that you need to take a stand on? And, it's like accountability is, you can hold someone accountable by still stirring up love and good works. And I think it's all about the approach. Am I coming to you what you're wearing because I'm judging your appearance and I think it needs to fit this standard, or am I coming to you and it's somehow it's hard using that example. Well, it's probably not the best example, but am I approaching you with the intent of love and good works?
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is just my opinion. I think it's all about the heart, and it is the intent behind it. Yeah. Is that I think judgmentalism is very negative because it comes from a place of, not to be too churchy, but meanness. So, it's just plain mean. But if my daughter is dragging a suitcase outside, okay, apparently she's done. But I feel like some of our friends that go to church with us, like if Stephanie Stokes or Summer Livingston or Lakin or somebody came up to me and we need to talk, I know that it's coming from a place of love, and like, hey, like we're seeing something's off, or whatever. So I don't think that it's two different things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, and Rachel, I think you also hit it on the head too, as far as showing Christ, being examples of Christ, looking to Christ as, how did he treat, like the Pharisees bringing the adulterous woman to him and saying, judge her. And he ends up judging all of them. He who is sinless cast the first stone. So he's being equal across the board. And two, I think one of the instructions that he gives the woman too is very important, is go and sin no more. He's holding her accountable. Like, yes, you've sinned, go and sin no more, I think is a very important part of that story. So there's the accountability part that he shows us. But you're right. It's like he approached people that his apostles were kind of like, why is he talking to that person? Why, and I think that, and when you brought up the homeless person, that, being always looking for that opportunity to show Christ and show love, which is the ultimate, love God, the greatest command, love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. And then the second, just like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And I think those are the two things you really got to keep in mind, whether when you're a part of a church, whether it's members you've known a long time or new members coming in, however you're approaching a neighbor, I think that's where you got to start from. But love is a tricky thing because it can entail a lot of different aspects. It's not always just fuzzy wuzzy, cuddly.
And it can show where your heart's at in your walk and all that. I mean, it really, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But it can just show, like, if your heart is full of negative, things, you're not going to be willing to help and show God in that way that you really need to.
And that goes right back to what Lacey was saying. You have to start with accountability from yourself.
Yes.
At least for me, I've learned this. I have to be accountable to myself. I have to get the plank in my own eye. Yep. I've got to need to be willing and able to address that before I address anything. And I've spoken with Matthew, our preacher, about this too, and he's spoken about it as far as like, that approach is, when you come from that heart posture like you're talking about, you're not just going to condemn someone. You're going to really just trying to help them and hear from them, and and work with them, walk with them, not drag them along.
Right. And the appearance thing is like also, yes, I wear that stuff, bright, extra colorful, but also that's what I've got.
You're also 6'7".
6'5".
6'5". Oh man, stop.
Sorry.
So you're a walking billboard as it is. So whatever you're wearing is gonna.
So you might as well make it bright and colorful to look at.
People are going to stare at you anyway. You might as well give them something to look at.
And for some reason, that's what they sell in like tall guy clothes is like the most obnoxious.
But that's my closet, man. That's what I have. And to me, like, I hate I say I hate like doing it, but like my work clothes are my work clothes, so I don't want to wear those to church on Sunday too. So I try to kind of differentiate between what I have, and I wear what I've got. Those are my button-down shirts. I can wear a T-shirt. I mean, I've got wrestling shirts, Florida State shirts, and all kinds of stuff. But I try to at least wear a button-down. But it's what I've got. It's how I come. It's how I leave. And I'm not worried about anybody else's attire around me. I even it was funny. Robbie Livingston was wearing flip flops a couple weeks ago too, and I was a little worried about wearing flip flops in the church. And then Robbie, who's just like one of the worst human beings on the face of planet Earth, Robbie Livingston. My goodness, but really, Robbie, just an incredible man. Strong walk with God, strong family, strong leader of men. And he walks by, and I point at his feet. I'm like, flip flops, Rachel. Not a sinner. Told you.
Get him.
Somebody else is like me.
More sinners.
And that's the thing to remember. We're all sinners.
Yeah.
And I know we've said it before, and I've heard it said so many ways. The church it's not a hotel for saints. It's a hospital for sinners. And it's so important to remember. I do want to get some actual scripture. I know we've kind of been paraphrasing scripture a little bit here and there. There's 2 places in the Bible where Paul makes very convicting statements when writing to churches as far as like how to treat one another. You know, one is more about holding one another accountable. You see somebody doing something wrong, you need to address it and lift each other up. And then there's another one, Romans. I'll read just a little section of it. It's, the people, he's writing to the people who were dealing and trying to navigate, this eating foods that have been sacrificed. I believe this is when they're eating foods that have been sacrificed to idols. Is that right? Is it wrong? They're looking for a standard and all this. And so he just kind of gives them a little bit of common sense here as far as, this is Romans 14, starting verse 20. Do not tear down the work of God for the sake of food. All things indeed are clean, but they are evil for the person who eats and causes offense. It is good not to eat meat or to drink wine or to do anything by which your brother or sister stumbles. The faith which you have as your own conviction before God. Happy is the one who does not condemn himself in what he approves, but the one who doubts is condemned if he eats, because his eating is not from faith, and whatever is not from faith is a sin. And basically what he's getting at is the heart, like you're talking about. What is the genuine nature of the actions by this person? And the stuff he brings up is still going today. This whole, should we eat meat? Should we not eat meat? What should we drink? Should we drink wine? Or, some of the stuff that but basically what he's saying too is kind of what we were just talking about, is starting from your own personal place. Am I doing something that's causing someone else to stumble? If me eating this is causing a conflict, or drinking this or saying this, whatever, is it causing a needless conflict? I think that's where he says in another instance is creating needless conflict. And so I think it's twofold. You start from your personal standpoint and also the approach. I think those are the 2 main things. How are you approaching it? And then the personal standpoint.
Well, and I would just like to take a second to remind us at the table and anybody who is still listening that if you have ever been church hurt, that's people. That's not God. That is people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's well-meaning people. That's when it gets really hard, is it's well-meaning people.
Because they think they think they're doing the right thing.
Right. But we're human. We're imperfect. And let's just get real. Sometimes well-meaning people, all people, we just do dumb things. And so just try to remember that if you've ever, I feel like most everybody has experienced some form of church hurt, but it always comes back to people. People are imperfect.
Host?
Hmm?
Host? Amen, by the way. Good, like,
Yeah.
100%.
Completely agree.
100%.
I didn't think I have.
And that also takes some realizing over time as well, some reflecting, I should say. And I've learned that too. Like those people, like I don't think they really intended. They obviously didn't intend to hurt us. They thought they were doing what was right and what they were raised into. And hey, like maybe we all find out one day that like it was
That
right,
they were right.
right. But how you make people feel is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're trying to navigate our relationship with God, seeking God, who is love, who is relational, and we're trying to build relationships. So, but we're trying to build, like, God is perfect. We're trying to build a relationship with a perfect being, and through relationship with imperfect beings. And one thing that you brought up as far as like your experiences with visiting other churches and going multiple times, even though they didn't really, lack of a better way of saying it, impress the first time. There were maybe some flags and some concerns, but you went back and did it. That's such a crucial thing, not just in trying to find a church, but being part of a church, being part of a relational family. When something doesn't go your way, if something doesn't go right, or even if something is happening that you might have some concerns with, really trying to navigate that, not just say my way or the highway, either fix this or I'm gone, or something is said and you on a whim just, lash out or leave. It's, we've all done that, I think, in one sense with family. We've had those experiences where we get on each other's nerves or we've said something we shouldn't have said, but we're still family. At the end of the day, we're still, and when we talk about like investing in a church, investing in that relationship where I'm imperfect, recognizing I'm imperfect, and maybe I said something I shouldn't have said, you've said something you shouldn't have said, but just staying there and working it out. Because at the end of the day, it's serving a perfect God, and creating a relationship with him. When you, like John tells us, if you love God and hate your neighbor, then you're a liar. Because you can't love God and hate your neighbor, and vice versa, especially. But oh man, there was one more thing I was going to say about that too. But
I was just, Ben and I have had these kind of conversations, and I know that y'all had them too. When it comes to a church, choosing which hill to die on,
right?
And so, like when little things come up, if they change the carpet. That is not a reason to leave in my book. Not at all.
Noticed, I'm going to be honest.
When did we get carpet?
Hold on.
Did they not learn
These
anything
chairs
after
don't
Michael?
squeak anymore.
So yeah. So but I do, yes, pick your battles, and like just because we've had those kind of conversations, because I've always said that, like, if we ever go to a church that's not teaching scripture, if they are just teaching just opinions or feelings or whatever, we're gone.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, like, especially with Palo Alto, like the first, because we like 3 times in a row, one time without the boys, and then the next time we decided to bring them because we were like, okay, there's a good children's area, and
Which you took us to.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. But the sermon, I feel like the sermon is like the most important part.
Right.
If it feels like God is speaking to you directly through that, then I think you're probably there. Like, that was a lot of it, because the second, third visit, he played a clip from Inside Out, and I was like, oh, this is it. And then he was talking about anxiety, and I was like, I don't remember ever talking about anxiety in church, or those type of, like mental health in general was never spoken about in church. And it was like, and that's a massive thing that both of us especially deal with. And for him to like speak about it, and then of course bring Disney into it, I was sold. I was like, this is for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
One thing that you were talking about, I forget how you just phrased it, but basically, to put a word on it, endurance, long suffering. And that's one thing that I comes to mind when I'm talking about my wife, is her long suffering. I will credit her with so much of long suffering. She puts up with so much with a smile on her face while doing it. And she's my wife. I'm going to notice that. I'm going to appreciate that, obviously. But she's my family. And then you switch over to a church family. There is endurance, long suffering, perseverance. All of these are synonyms for how we are to be relational. Just to kind of go back a little bit to that, as far as like not acting on a whim or over emotionally. There are standards, like Lacey brought up. There are standards that I think we need to identify personally. We need to identify with our spouse.
Checklist.
Yeah. What are these hills, like Lacey said, that I will die on, that are very important to me. I think it's Very
ultimate
important.
knows.
Right.
Yes.
It's important to
Can't-
identify them because
And
they
probably
can change.
before you start. Do it before you start shopping.
Yeah.
And then you can adjust
Yeah.
as you like are actually in it. You know, you'll try this church and you're like, oh, I really didn't appreciate this, or wasn't a big fan of this. It's like, okay, I can handle it. Or maybe it's like, ooh, nope, I didn't realize that was a thing, and I didn't know that was happening in churches, so we can't do this one again.
Yeah.
Like, some things will hit you in the face like that, where it just, I don't know if it's like discernment, like your
Yeah.
discernment will really just
Well, yeah, that was that absolutely,
there.
absolutely, because that was the next thing is discerning your when you establish what are those standards personally. What are those standards between me and my wife both have, because I might have, and I think I have a couple standards that might be different from hers,
right.
but we have unified standards,
Mhm.
and
because you have to go together,
right.
Yes.
which
But
would be ideal.
You have to start by identifying it, but then, like you said, I think you need to work on those because, like, going back, it starts from a personal place as far as how important is the standard, how rational is the standard, how biblical is the standard. Because my standards used to be a lot higher. Well, I say higher, used to be a lot more, and
Right.
then the more I read Scripture and the less judgmental I try to be, and
Yeah.
more accountable I try to be, I've realized I've whittled them down to their most, what I see as their most essential and most important. I think that's the key, the most important, because and I've mentioned this time and time again. I just love how in Peter in his second letter he talks about wanting to be partakers of a divine nature, of God's nature. Start with faith and supplement into your faith virtue, into your virtue knowledge, into your knowledge endurance. Endurance is described as steadfastness, is another word, as another synonym. Steadfastness is another. That's something you would want from your wife. It's something you should give to your wife, but also to one another, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to quit talking y'all's ear off here.
We're playing footsies under the table. I think that's
Wow.
No,
Wow.
it's me.
Well, and I think that leads us maybe the last point, and just as crucial, forgiveness. Because that was one thing I was going to get to earlier is when you react emotionally and you cut those ties, you sever those ties, you sever the ability to reconcile. But in my experience, and maybe you guys can attest this too, when you create that separation between you and someone else, you're not having a dialogue with them. So now all that anger that separated you starts to turn into bitterness. And that, for me, bitterness is a key word. That will fester and fester and fester until it separates you from that person. It starts to separate you from God, because, like I said, you have to love God and your neighbor, but it takes you away from forgiveness. It prevents you from forgiveness, which is ultimately what we're seeking from God.
sometimes, and I think Rachel actually, maybe one of the things, if she was to list things she didn't necessarily love about me sometimes, is that I think coming off that message, this might be the wrong way to put it, but too forgiving at times. I have given the fourth, fifth, sixth chances to some people that don't necessarily deserve it, but
I come at it from the protective wife
yeah.
aspect of it, and you're coming at it as like the person that's actually dealing with it. But
That's a very important
Yeah.
dynamic to dissect.
I care about you, you care about them, and I'm like, no, it hurt you. I don't like it.
That's so much harder, because I'm with you, because I feel like maybe I can forgive a little quicker if someone is, and I feel like someone's wronged me or there's any kind
Yeah,
of
if it's
negative.
happening to you,
But if it's happening to my wife,
to somebody
that's a
that you
lot
love and really
harder.
care about,
Yeah.
it's very hard to
Yeah.
forgive them, because they won't apologize to you, because they didn't do it to you, so they don't think that it affects anybody but the person that it's done to. But
Mhm.
really, I mean, if you have somebody in that like position in your life that is protective over you, they don't get the apology, so it makes it a lot harder to forgive.
There is a fine line to be drawn between forgive and forget.
Absolutely.
Actually, kind of going through this right now with my stepsister. Not to get like too deep into the weeds of that story, but she's a mess, and she's always just been a mess, and I've been with her essentially my entire life. My parents got divorced relatively young, remarried in 2001. No, 2003.
You were relatively young.
I was very young. I was 10 years old when my dad got remarried, 10 or 11. So I've known my stepsister for 20 plus years, and I love her, and I do, and I forgive her for all the dumb things she's done, whether it's to us or to herself, or more importantly to her children.
Yes.
My niece most notably, and I forgive her, and I'll always love her. But forgetting and letting yourself fall into the same trap, those are different ideas, and I think that's hard to deliver without the without going into the specifics. But there are very many stories like that where it's like, hey, I will always forgive you, and I still love you. However, I can't let you sit at my table.
Right.
That's kind of what it is.
And Ben, to your point, I love the saying about like holding a grudge is like drinking poison, but expecting the other person to die.
Right. Yeah.
So that bitterness will eat you alive if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, boundaries are a wonderful thing. And I do believe that you can forgive someone, but place some healthy boundaries around that relationship, especially when you're trying to protect your family and your kids. And that's our job. That's our job as parents, is to protect our kids. And
I found in certain situations where, the forgiveness is more for yourself because of that grudge. You have to let that bitterness and that awful feeling of holding that hatred towards somebody, or depending on what the situation is, you don't have to forgive them to their face. You can forgive and talk to God, and you give that to God, and you say, I forgive them. You take this away from me. This is too much for me to handle and bear. I have to, you have to let it out of your heart, and God will take that away. And I found that, to be easy in some situations where, you don't necessarily want to have anything to do with that person or talk to that person about that situation again. But you have to do it for yourself.
yeah,
It's like your soul will thank you. Because it's soul crushing to hold something so deeply, for a long time. It just, like you said, it eats away at you.
yes.
Well, as we're starting to wrap this up, I'm not going to get into a long diatribe, but I do want to just, I'm going to end with another scripture here, but I do want to say something, and I think maybe this is something we will dive into deeper in another episode. You guys have heard, the verse where Jesus says, it's easier for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. It's impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Like it's more likely that a camel to enter the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I am going somewhere with this. Stay with me. That phrase alone, I've done a lot of dive into that phrase, because there's been a lot of theory around what did he actually say, what did he actually mean, and some of those theories, they start to change the point that he was trying to make. They change the nature of the saying, the phrase. In my research on that, I came across one researcher who made the statement that I love. This is where I'm trying to get to, is basically they dissected all the theories and came away with what he said is what he said. It is impossible for a camel to enter the eye of a needle, just like it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I know I'm paraphrasing that multiple ways now, but they landed at what Jesus said was radical and should remain so. And I want to keep that phrase in mind, because I'm going to go to another place here, the Sermon on the Mount, the blesseds. I'll end with the final two. And I just want to keep that in mind. Like what Jesus, you hear a lot of times, don't judge. We shouldn't judge, or we shouldn't do this, and everything that comes before but doesn't matter, right? So we're so guilty of that. You hear that a lot of times. You know, I know we're not supposed to do this, but whether it's as a church or individually, whatever, just hear the words. They're radical and should remain so. And so Matthew 5, starting verse 10, I'll just end it here. I feel like this is a good summation of all the stuff we talked about. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. And if you go on to, I think, starting verse 21 on to about maybe 26, that's another place I would encourage our listeners to go to read. It's very pertinent to what we're talking about too, as far as how you should treat your brother and sister. I won't read the whole thing because it would require a lot more time to explain the context and everything. I would encourage everybody to research that. Chapter 5, starting verse 21. I'm going to skip around a little bit, starting verse 22. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be answerable to the court, and whoever says to his brother, you good for nothing, shall be answerable to the Supreme Court, and whoever says, you fool, shall be guilty enough to go into the fiery hell. And those concepts, it goes on, and I just encourage everybody to kind of go into that too. I think that's very pertinent to what we're talking about, and how we should treat one another, which is at the end of the day what we're talking about, whether it's church, work, wherever you are, but especially the church, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, I think is very important. But
amen. Yeah.
So I was trying to
better myself. It's almost like it's in red font.
I can't get out of my own way sometimes. I was trying to just stamp this episode with a verse, and then I just kept going. So I apologize. Go read the Sermon on the Mount, guys. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Great stuff. Yeah, I mean, and it lays it all out too. So just now getting into, because for all those reasons, I blocked out biblical knowledge for a long time. Anything to do with the Bible, especially the specifics of, like, I never knew what the Sermon on the Mount was. Ironically,
you haven't got to season 2 yet, have you? Don't get too attached to Judas.
Oh man!
Don't tell me it was Judas. Was it? Was it Judas?
Don't tell me. Wait, he dies? No, man, I forgot what I was going
Sorry,
with that.
man.
Ironically, you know what's terrible is this: the first time I ever heard the Sermon on the Mount was in an episode of South Park. That's.
I forgot about that.
I'm admitting that here. That's where I had learned, like, that the Sermon on the Mount was a real thing. Like that's where it happened. Was basically an episode of South Park, and then I watched the breakdown of it, and they were like, "That was a real thing, the Sermon on the Mount." And I'm like, "No way!" Like,
wow.
Yeah, wow, fantastic. So, now getting into it, and especially, like, I have a New Living Translation Bible, and I think yours might be doing the same thing here, but it lays out, like, Jesus talks about divorce, Jesus talks about this, and there's like little sections and everything, and I've fallen in love. It's really cool. I'm still not there to where I can quote like where everything is, obviously, because there's so much.
I'm still there. I can paraphrase, but I can't tell you exactly where it's.
Like, I always think with Profiles of Faith, you ask everybody what their favorite verse is. It's like, I can tell you what it is. I can't tell you where it is. I think it's Isaiah 53. Yet the Lord laid on him the sins of us all. I think that's like the most powerful. Talk about the crucifixion. Talk about like he was pierced for our rebellion. That whole line right there, and I'll show you why after the podcast. But get you into skillet
Real
a little
quick,
bit.
Rachel, do you have a favorite verse? It's okay if you don't. I've been surprised by our Profiles of Faith
Jesus
project.
Wept. Another
Yeah.
one.
I had one that I really liked, and I she's having a great time.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and I followed it in high school, and I even put it on my class ring. It was a psalm. I think it's like 23, something like that. It was one of the psalms, but I can't for the life of me find it again. I don't know where my class ring is to like look at it to see what it was. But I know like the psalms are just so empowering, and I really like that.
Yeah. Well, oh man, there's something else I was going to add. Totally lost it. Thanks for joining us tonight, Kyle. So glad to have you back. Thank you, Rachel, for keeping him contained somewhat
I don't
tonight.
know how well it works, but
Controlled
we're
chaos.
here.
And after all the stuff you guys have been through, I'm personally, I don't know about Lacey, I'm personally grateful to have you guys in our life.
Gratitude. Segue.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Let's talk about gratitude. No, but all of that, and the fact that you guys have stayed with it, you're an example. You're an example to me, if anybody, whether you are to anybody else, but you're an example to me of not just staying in that hole and wallowing in it.
So somehow we're still
Digging your
married
way
after
out.
all of that. I don't know. And honestly, like it, I know a lot of people that would have challenged like a lot
Oh, yeah.
marriage wise, and
I wonder
don't-
how I would have handled it.
I don't feel like we faltered, to be honest. I mean, there was a few like little spats here and there because the
I don't
stress.
know, the way
was
you were talking at the
so
beginning,
high.
eh?
I was mad at you.
Playing
That's
softball.
normal. Yeah. He's
Can't even go play
legally
softball.
Championship
required to
night.
never play softball ever again, or we will get divorced.
What about church softball day? That doesn't count.
That is an exception.
You can
because
watch.
It's not real day. Yeah,
Oh
you-
no, I'm playing.
Well, thanks again, guys, for being here and filling in for
glad to
Taylor
be
and
here.
Sabrina. We miss you guys. We're hoping they'll be back here soon.
Can I do one thing?
No.
I think this episode's dropping Memorial Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be long gone by then. But happy early anniversary to my lovely wife. Our anniversary is this coming Monday, May the 4th. We'll both be working. We're going to try to get some time together this weekend. But our 7th wedding anniversary this coming Monday. So happy
Right.
anniversary, my love. I
Happy
love you.
anniversary.
Y'all got married on Star Wars Day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're about to have some off microphone conversations.
We
I'll
thank
never
you.
forget.
It was epic.
We thank you guys for joining in and listening and being part of the small group. If you have any questions, anything you want us to discuss, anything you disagree with, please let us know. You know, we want to hear from you no matter what, and you know, hopefully reconcile any differences if we do have any. But especially if you have questions, if you want to connect with Kyle or Rachel in particular, you just reach out to us. All the ways to reach us is in the description of the podcast. But most of all, guys, thanks for sticking around and being part of our family.
Have any questions or any topics you would like to discuss? Or if you have any comments about anything discussed in small group, please let us know. You can comment or message us through your podcast platform, or you can email us at go.bear.lobster@gmail.com. You can also send us a message at our website, smallgrouppodcast.wordpress.com. Click on the Contact Us button.